So, Kaniehtiio, how was it like to be the new antagonist on the show and go head to head with Michael?
It was a dream come true. It was it was something that I didn't really know that I aspired to, or that I didn't kind of let myself dream about when I was younger, because I didn't think it was, because I just never saw it. I never saw Indigenous people getting to be funny at this level. And so when I remember being on set and being kind of like taking a second, being like, oh my God, like we get to just like have fun and like play off of each other. And this is like amazing. I never thought this would ever happen. It was really easy to come into the second season as a fan of the show and a fan of what the show represented and what it was doing within the entertainment industry for Indigenous people and for representation and everything. I was, and then the comedy and how intelligent the comedy and the writing is. I was already a fan, and then I've spent a lot of time in my career kind of jumping onto shows and then jumping off, and sometimes it's really hard to kind of like break into the family, that dynamic that has already been built. And with this one, there was a family dynamic, and it was so open and welcoming, and I felt really valued for what I was bringing to the show. And yeah, it was a dream.
Awesome. Jana, you in this season, you guys are highlighting a lot of the red tape that women have to go through when trying to get land. Why did you want to highlight that within the show?
I think that what we wanted to portray was not necessarily like the way that, women have a hard time attaining land, because, that's not true for every tribal nation. But we wanted to sort of challenge the way in which, Native communities sort of, we celebrate matriarchy and we honor matriarchy, but in practice it doesn't always look like that. In our real lives, we still struggle because we're colonized by a patriarchal system. And so we wanted to show sort of, as we have a Native woman as a showrunner and executive producer and co-creator of this show, and so we all and we have a lot of Native women on the writing staff, and so we all wanted to sort of showcase like how it has been a struggle to be a Native woman who is in theory honored by our communities, but in practice it's challenging to get a word in sometimes. So we used the land issue and acquisition to sort of illuminate that.
For sure. Another thing you illuminated was representation on TV with Adirondacks season 3. For both of you to watch that episode play out, how was it like to see that within a show that has positive Native representation?
To write it was very easy, because we've experienced that as Native people. Even as like a writer trying to break into this industry, I was asked first by non-Native people to help proofread their Native characters and essentially just like give my stamp of approval so that they could try to sell it. And so yeah, it was like very fulfilling. Just today there was a Deadline article released that Yellowstone didn't get got snubbed in the Emmy nominations, and they mentioned by the way, Rutherford Falls did like sort of drag Yellowstone or shows like Yellowstone, our fictional show Adirondack, and so you don't think, you think you're just making a fun joke, but like there is an impact, and we are trying to say something in our show. We have messages, we have very strong, powerful messages, but doing it with comedy, you don't think that it's gonna like, you don't think it's gonna make any waves, but we're sneaky.
Sneak attack. Sure. Comedy is a sneak attack.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And how, for both of you, how would you say that you're like your characters and how are you different from your characters?
I'm not conservative, like my character is. I wish I was as, I guess, I mean, I love the confidence that my character has, and I have to remind myself to embrace that and to sort of lean into that in my regular day-to-day life, especially when I was younger. But I think I'm leaning into it a little bit more as I get older. I'm definitely not, yeah. I think Feather Day is 100% a conservative, and that is how we differ.
What about you?
I don't know. I definitely do not pull as much tail as Reagan does. I don't know how she do it, but I do not.
For sure. Speaking of Reagan and her many links of men, who would you say you're for both of you? Would you say that you're Team Nelson or Team Josh?
Team Nelson.
Josh, baby. Josh.
Why are you Team Nelson and why are you Team Josh?
I don't know. I think I have a soft spot for Dallas and for Nelson, and I think I also have I have a soft spot for both of them, but there's also like this like I got a soft spot for indigenous dudes, like, and just like how man, this is gonna sound silly, but like not, I don't want to use, what word am I looking for? The dudes that really need an indigenous woman to help balance them out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. See, that's exactly why I'm Team Josh, honey.
Exactly. Not so much work with Team Josh, I feel like. Maybe not. I don't know.
Absolutely, man. Nelson's such a little mansplainer. He's like,
yeah. But that's why I'm like, I come from a matriarchal society, so I'm just like, whatever, you just smack that shit out of him.
I know. Well, she does. There's this really fun moment that I like always forget about, but it's in one of the last episodes, and Nelson has to go out of town for a little bit, but they're kind of like living together at this point. Anyway, he comes up to her and he's like, Regan, we need to talk. And Regan goes, oh my God, are you breaking up with me? Wait, no, you are so into me. That would never happen.
Yes, for sure. Another interesting topic that was on one of the episodes this season was the idea of a quote unquote pretendian. And I feel like I noticed that a lot, but you also approached it in a very nuanced way of, okay, not everyone knows their background because of colonialization. How was it? Why did you want to bring up that topic? And how was it like to kind of create that nuance?
I think you have to be respectful, and I like that's what I love about this show is like the writing is so flippin' intelligent that there's, you have to be sensitive to all of the reactions in a way without it being like, don't fucking be a pretendian. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, why? How does it hurt us? How does it, I absolutely love the way that the show did it. I think it was just like a really it was just beautifully done.
Yeah, it's hard because it is a very prevalent issue in our community, because of erasure and the lack of visibility of Native people and Native issues. We have a lot of like openings. There's like just a lot of space for pretendians to exist, and it's there's a lot of that happens a lot in our own industry, and so I just think it's something that we've all experienced, and it's a very funny paradox, but it also has an impact that is genuinely harmful in our communities. And so
it's heartbreaking. It hurts like when you find out and you're like, what, especially when there are people who are just working so hard to further our stories, to and to be connected to community and to anyways.
Yeah, but it's complicated, and we try to show that in all of our sort of bigger messaging around the show, that like this isn't an easy topic to discuss. These characters are grappling with it in the same way that we're grappling with it in our own lives. Tribal identity, indigenous identity is complex. It is it's nuanced and it's not easy. But you know, we follow general rules around kinship. And those kinship rules are different from nation to nation. And you know, but we ultimately, at the end of the day, we did want to show that like it is a harmful act to sort of race shift. And yeah.
For sure.
But I just feel like in 2022, when it happens still, you're just like, what? How do they think? Do they not know the
I know.
internet? You know?
Yeah.
We're gonna figure it out at one point or another.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and congrats on season 2, and fingers crossed for season 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.